Hey everyone, welcome to Writing with Body Paragraphs, the Basics. This is a bit of a longer presentation, so I think I'm going to do it in two different videos. So we'll start from the overview, move on to topic sentences, and then a separate video. I'll make sure to have the support and the analysis and the rest of the stuff. So here we go. The purpose of the body paragraphs is to elaborate on the argument provided in your thesis statement, to prove that your rationale is true, and to incorporate research. The body paragraphs should use your research along with solid reasoning and analysis to prove your rationale to be true and thus defend your overall claim given in your thesis. As you heard in the previous lecture, there are three basic body paragraph components. We've got the topic sentence, which stems directly from the thesis statement. It contains a direct, forceful argument and indicates what the paragraph will be about. You may need to write a couple of supporting sentences to help explain it thoroughly, and that's totally okay. The next thing that comes in is the support. The support component of the paragraph comes in at the form of a relevant and poignant quotation or paraphrase taken from one of the sources you are using to inform your thesis statement. It must be cited appropriately, and we'll get to that. And then lastly, your explanation. The last step in writing complete body paragraph is to provide an explanation of your support. At this point, you can use reasoning and analysis to dive into the significance of your quote and show how it helps support your topic sentence. So we'll start here. How to build a body paragraph. This is the kind of overview for your topic sentences. As I go through this lesson, let's assume we're answering the same prompt from the Writing Dope Thesis Statements lecture. Oh, look, Wednesday gave a little cameo. Get down. So the prompt that we kind of pull together in the Writing Dope Thesis Statements lecture is, what area of government spending do you feel is underfunded and can use more attention, and why? As we continue through the lecture, we came up with a few plausible thesis statements that would work for that prompt. I'll use one of those options as the foundation for the examples I create. That was a typo, ignore. And that thesis statement that we are going to pursue through the rest of this lecture is, governments should prioritize researching, developing, and investing in alternative energy resources because they are vital to slowing the rate of global warming, which is causing an irreversible level of damage. So keep that in mind as we move forward through the lecture. Okay, so just a reminder, a topic sentence needs to be an argumentative sentence that elaborates on the argument in your thesis statement. So remember, it should not be a rhetorical question. It should not be a quote. It needs to be basically a statement, a claim, and it should be original to your argument. So breaking down the thesis statement, here's what we need to ultimately argue throughout the whole paper. The claim that the government should spend more money on alternative energy resources, and the rationale they can help slow the alarming pace of global warming, which is causing irreversible damage. So if you break that down, here are the things that we really need to prove to get the audience to believe you, to persuade them of this thesis statement. Global warming is occurring at an alarming pace. That's something that we claimed in the thesis statement. It's causing irreversible damage. That's another thing that we've claimed in the thesis statement. It is caused by current sources of energy like fossil fuels. That is what we call an implied reason. It's not stated in the thesis, but it's a generally known fact. Still might be worth kind of discussing it a little bit in your essay. And then greener energy resources are less harmful. So those are the things that we need to prove in our essay to show that our thesis is true. Again, proving those things will justify our claim that the government should invest in green resources, and the things that we're proving will now become topic sentences expressed as argumentative statements. You'll see that I had 4 things that we're proving that we need to prove, and that I'm only going to have 3 topic sentences, and that's because I was able to kind of combine some of those thoughts. Okay, so again, here's our thesis statement just as a refresher. Governments should prioritize researching, developing, and investing in alternative energy resources because they are vital to slowing the rate of global warming, which is causing an irreversible level of damage. For our first topic sentence, I said, our current sources of energy, namely fossil fuels and other non-renewable sources of energy, are a major part of what drives global warming. So that kind of starts to address that implied reason that we didn't really say in our thesis statement. So it's, even though it's not directly in the thesis statement, it's still okay because I think it's something that's worth proving for those in the audience that are hesitant, right, to believe in global warming and climate change. Topic sentence number 2, global warming is causing an irreversible level of damage to our environment. So we're logically moving on to the next point, and the next part of our thesis. And then topic sentence 3, investing in researching and implementing alternative energy resources is a major way we can effectively reduce emissions and begin to repair the damage to our environment. So topic sentence 3 will kind of bring everything full circle, and that paragraph will be dedicated to showing why it's important to invest in alternative energy resources. So it kind of comes full circle back to the original claim of the thesis. This is not the only way to I guess, approach this topic, but I think this is a really solid way. And I'm using, you'll notice, the thesis statement that has the one rationale to kind of show how you break down breaking down that single rationale and going more in depth rather than the 3 reasons thesis statement, which is more straightforward. Okay, so you'll notice that all 3 of those topic sentences elaborate on part of the thesis statement. They're argumentative, and they participate in proving that the reasons for the claim are true. And each sentence proceeds logically from the previous. This is really important in organizing your paper. You want to make sure that you are guiding your audience through your argument in a logical way where they can digest the individual bits of information before moving on. And this is where I'll stop this part of the presentation before I move on.